All right,
So
looks
just
like we're live.
yeah, it looks like we're live. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's been a bit of a break. We haven't done this in a while. So I see you've chosen nice little emojis of a bull and a bear. So we're below the line, so that's bearish.
Let me just share this out. But yeah, it's my trading by pitches 101. I think this is super key level.
Yeah, it seems like we've had a bit of a mixed bag last couple of weeks. Been general bearishness across the board. A lot of people kind of like almost seems like they're throwing in the towel. And then, kind of Bitcoin has these, I don't know, these little pumps, and everyone, kind of like gets all excited again, and then Germany dumps, and then they rebuy, and it's all very confusing. But I think we're just seeing more of what summer has to offer in the northern hemisphere, and that is very little liquidity, and people continue to gamble.
Yeah, I mean, just move these fucking stupid pictures out the way. Is this trend line has been super important, I think.
It has.
So if we're just gonna kind of like, if you go down at low time frames, and if we're just gonna like try and fake out of there and like just reject down, I really don't like the look of that. But you always get a lot of shenanigans around such key levels anyway. But first attempt of trying to kind of hold has completely failed. So a fan of that personally, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens when the burgers wake up. But first look, I don't like what I'm seeing personally.
And then what's interesting about this is obviously the announcement of the Solana ETF, which, I mean, obviously is of no surprise. We were expecting it, and we've obviously spoken about it before. But it almost seems like that $120 level. I mean, you can see it's kind of like tapped 120. I know that you've got that line at 114, but it seems like 120 is the spot that really does seem to have the bulls holding out on. And I think it's going to take a lot for it to actually go below that 120, 115 line. And at the moment, I think Solana we've said this so many times over the last 8 months, but Solana really does look bullish, and it's definitely, in my opinion, I think it's definitely going to go, like I'm like 100% certain from my perspective that it's going to like really do something once the players reveal their hands in terms of who's going to register ETFs, and what's the SEC says. And if there's kind of like the same trajectory that Ethereum has taken from those applications, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Solana do some really cool stuff, like on an upward trajectory. I think it's going to take a lot for Bitcoin to drag Solana down. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I was looking at Sol BTC, looks fucking pretty good, and Sol ETH, where the hell is it?
Also looking great.
Sol ETH also looks great. So yeah, kind of beach ball, underwater vibes if everything chills out. But as I say, a lot of fuckery gonna happen around the around that key level, I think. But it doesn't look great if we don't reclaim it, in all honesty. But we'll just have to see. Any other kind of larger caps? I do like. I know this is kind of sacrilege because it hasn't had the greatest cycle, but Avalanche have got this new upgrade called ACP-77 coming out pretty soon, and it's a bit of a dual outcome for scarcity, whereas the supply is going to reduce drastically, and the burn or the supply sinks are going to increase. So you kind of get this dual mechanism of kind of reducing the supply. So hopefully that can catch a bid going into that once people start to realize that's on the horizon. But I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I haven't picked any up yet, but it's something that I'm keeping a very, very close eye on.
Are you seriously? I mean, is there a consideration around that $18? Like, do we kind of have like, okay, so let's look at like what would a worst case scenario look like for Bitcoin right now? Is it kind of like that 50K level? Let's just go back to that Bitcoin chart quickly. I want to just interrogate this in terms of like those stink bids and what that might look like. So there is that 50K level. I think it's quite a yeah, that level there. Yeah. So that 50 and a half, like, is that something that we potentially could see? I think so. But then at the same time, we've had quite a lot of sell pressure from obviously Germany coming in and you know, doing approximately around 150 to 180 mil a day. But it's interesting because it's not really the quantum that seems to be affecting the price at the moment. It seems to be more a sentiment driven thing. I don't know. It's bizarre. Because like realistically, is $180 million that much for a $1 trillion asset? I don't think so. Yet, you know, we see quite a negative kind of like price move around the sentiment with Germany. And then obviously Mount Gox, has it still not been priced in? I mean, it's been something that people have been talking about for the last 160 million years, yet it seems to like come up all over again all the time. And it's like, is it just an excuse? I mean, what do you think is going on there with kind of like the sentiment versus the price?
I said yesterday, like maybe even been the day before, but I think the German government offloading, I think that is definitely almost certainly being priced in. I think people are accepting that that's a thing now, and it's just one of those kind of sentiment drivers what everyone's like just accepted going to happen.
Okay.
I like that they're kind of going quick, fast on it, to be honest. It'd be I'd much rather them just get it sold and like and move.
Kind of
and
like
move
rip
past
the
it.
Band-Aid off as opposed to slowly peel it off. Yeah.
But someone was saying when we did round trippers on Tuesday in Discord, they were saying there's another 3 month wait on the Mount Gox stuff. So I don't know. 2 secs. What's this? My StreamYard viewing is messing up. Are you playing around with that there?
Yeah, I made a boo-boo somewhere. I don't know what happened. There we go. Sorry.
2 minutes. Right there. Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you about Mount Gox. I don't know how that's going to play out. If people are up a bazillion%, then they're obviously going to realize some of that. How that looks like is difficult to tell. But I think the whole German government selling is probably being factored in and priced in, and people are less inclined to look at outcome all day waiting for them to sell, and then they kind of offload because it's pretty difficult to track as well because they're placing bids, and if they're not getting filled, they're getting sent back to the address. So I don't know. I just want us to reclaim this, and I know this is like I throw shit at horoscope TA traders. I think they're like full of shit sometimes, but I just think from an optimistic standpoint, I think that drastically needs to be reclaimed for people to kind of start flipping bullish again. I know there's a lot of bearish sentiment out there. 2 days ago, Cato was throwing the lowest negative sentiment across all socials since June 2023. So
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
people have given up.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, just before we get into kind of like the dungeon stuff and the shitcoins, I mean, I think the big one for me it still has me scratching my head, and I mean, there's probably like 100 theories as to why, but what's the story with Ethereum? Like, we've got this EDF that's literally days, if not a week away, yet we really haven't seen anything this cycle. And if you were focused solely on Ethereum, and I think there's a lot of people that have, like they focus solely on Ethereum. It's been kind of like the darling of the last two cycles, and then come the cycle, it's really done very little, if anything. And it's like even an ETF has not really given us any momentum whatsoever, and it almost feels like it's one step forward and two steps back. I mean, do we ever see anything happen with Ethereum again? I mean, what the hell is going on here? Like, it's just, for me, I don't know the answer. I mean, is it because it's all sitting in Solana and, that liquidity is floating around in Solana? Probably. But surely there's a bullish case for Ethereum, but it just doesn't seem to find any traction at this point.
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't know if I don't know what was happening with the Celsius overhang and stuff like that, but it just hasn't seemed to have lived up to everything that's been built around it. I don't know if there's anything to be said for the kind of confusion and issues that we're kind of seeing with L2s as well. Feels like Ethereum's more focused on scaling the L2s as opposed to fixing what's happening on the base layer. And if that's the roadmap, that's fine. But then again, we always seem to have this kind of negative, bearish sentiment and talk around Ethereum right before it goes and does something like ridiculous, So
Yeah.
I don't really know. I really can't put a finger on it. It just feels like every time, remember, it's like the Atom of last cycle. Every time Atom started running, it was like, right, might have to take some chips off the table because this is just a bit of a top signal. Even leading into like potentially ETF week next week. Yeah.
So I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's actually, I think that's a really good take on it. I mean, I even saw there was a slide earlier on when Moon, she posted like a shot of Vitalik, obviously in Brussels, doing a talk on L2s, like, and it really does speak volumes, because, there's obviously like a clear understanding that Ethereum does have its limitations, particularly around scaling. And is that part of the whole thing? I don't know whether it is, but I mean, you could argue, from someone who doesn't see the bull case for Ethereum and say, well, it is all about the L2s. And, but then what are the L2s really doing right now? Arbitrum's, kind of like from a token pricing perspective, is fast tracking ZRO. And
that's
I mean,
the problem. I think people are
yeah.
conflating like token price with product, and it happens across the board, whether it's an app, whether it's a network, whether it's whatever. But whoever's kind of advised, it's a little bit different when it's an app when it's a network, because you need a large portion for incentives to go and build, to incentivize people to come build. Hopefully, applications then beget users, and then you get a successful chain. But people who've kind of pushed predatory tokenomics that favor the very few are setting teams up to fail with regards to this kind of low flow, high FTV. And I appreciate that for a network token, or an incentive token, which it kind of looks like it is, or a governance token, if you dare to bear the weight of holding governance tokens. It just feels like they're setting the network up to fail, because it does get a negative connotation, because the asset price will just tend to trend down. Those tokens are just there to be sold. Like, they can't attach utility to them. There's no point even doing that. They're just a representation of overall general health of the ecosystem. Particularly if it's not going to get used for gas. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of good activity on Arbitrum. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen to Optimism, if I'm being brutally honest, because they've kind of bastardized their own product with Base.
So I had a really interesting, like, and it wasn't even like this purposeful engagement farming exercise, but I genuinely was interested to ask the question, so who's actually using Arbitrum? And I actually went and I asked the question on Twitter, and I probably got the best engagement that I've had in weeks, literally. And I got like an insane amount of response from that. I mean, it's like, I think I
Did
got
people think
like,
you were being arsy about it though?
yeah, no. Some did, but then people realized quite quickly, like, this was a genuine question, and I was genuinely interested in, like, because I was one of the first people to step into Arbitrum, and so were you, and so were many of the other DeFi friends that we know, and obviously the Blockmates community. And Arbitrum was a place where, you know, we discovered kind of like an alternative to what kind of like the Tetranode tokens were doing at the time, and you know, in the last cycle, and you know, and it's kind of like, so we know that Arbitrum's got tremendous amount of value. We understood that, hold on a second, like Ethereum is evolving now, it's cheaper, it's faster, and there's all those positives. So I understand, you know, there's a whole lot of liquidity there. I think there's like $3.8 billion there, and it's like, it's a serious value proposition in terms of what Arbitrum essentially offers us. But it still seemed like there wasn't anything happening. Maybe it's because I haven't 2.8, excuse me. So it's kind of like, I thought, well, because I'm not using it, is anybody else using it? And I was obviously very surprised and pleasantly surprised that, listen, I use it on a daily basis. And like, well, people were saying they're using it on a daily basis. And it was really cool, because it just means that, you know, there is still hope for this whole kind of Ethereum narrative, you know, and it's like, well, where do we go from here, you know? And it was really reassuring from that perspective.
So that's quite telling as well. Like the protocols deployed on there that Divalama is indexing is 661, so it's third behind BSC and Ethereum itself. So that like tells you a lot. And there are some great apps, like Tap chose to launch there, and
yeah,
obviously GMX is fucking incredible products. There's a lot of just really good stuff that's built over there. It's just like, my kind of issue with it is, despite there being like a really strong developer community over there, and despite there being like avid users of it, that DAO needs like a serious shakeup, and it needs to get out of its own way, and it needs to put the right foot forward and stop being like this kind of circle jerk lobbyist who can get the most ARB tokens out of the DAO cash grab raid, because that's what's holding it back.
100%.
Like, in those games, if you know, like what I think we were speaking about this previously, like the Ohm Forks or the Pool 2 farms, and like, you'd never launch one of those now because the game is open, everyone knows how to play them, and they'd fizzle out within a second. It's the same with the whole large treasury governance fucking lobbyist game that goes on. It just goes on a little bit more behind closed doors, and people aren't really interested, and there isn't a large focus on it, so it just happens in like a select group of people, and it just stinks. Like, I don't know how to fix it. I wouldn't like to be the person who tries to fix it, but I really don't like that kind of vulturistic approach to what happens in those kind of governance forums.
It is very much an elitist game, and I understand, and we totally understand why and what and the rest of it. But I think you're 100% correct. I think right now, the irony of it is that it was what made Arbitrum really successful, like in terms of that mindset where it started, but now it's become its Achilles heel. It's literally turned on itself. You know, it's kind of like going from the hero to the villain, and that's what it is. There's no way of trying to decorate it any other. It's just the way it is. So I
think it's salvageable though as well.
Yes, absolutely.
It just needs like some no bullshit,
fucking
people to come in and like really shake it up and like start asking like real questions. And there needs to be some kind of top-down approach to it. You can't just have every man in the dog who owns like a little bit of Arbitrum, or like lobbying people who are delegates for ARB to like sway the conversation or sway governance to suit their needs. Like, I don't think fucking certain media companies should be getting involved with like their research coalition to benefit themselves and doll it up in a way that they're benefiting the community. Because what good has that done so far? I think it's just things. I could go on about it for hours, but and I also don't have an answer, so that's not very productive of me. But
so I think you know where I think it starts. I think where it starts and also ends is, and someone just posted, this in chat, and I think this is probably the most relevant thing about this whole discussion, and we've chatted about it before, is that we kind of like, and I'm the same. Like in many ways, I can get quite bearish about meme coins and like what value do they bring to the equation. And what's interesting about meme coins, and we've spoken about this before, is that meme coins are essentially like an admittance to the fact that governance tokens are exactly the same as meme coins. Like in many ways, it's kind of like, well, you're speculating and it's a gamble and that's all it is. And what value does a governance token bring to the table? But I don't want to get into that. I want to get into what does the future hold for the idea of a token being launched, and how do we place value in a token beyond just the speculative side of it. And I think the solution, or part of the solution, lies in, obviously I'm about to pump my bags right now, is what Tapioca did with their token. And it's like, what have they done? Where's the value that goes into a token that can actually have value and actually has meaning beyond just a vote? And how do we then take that value and translate it into income primarily, and more importantly, a participation whereby a founder is no longer referring to the community as token holders, but, I quote, shareholders.
don't say that, we get them locked up.
Matt has started referring to token holders who are in this thing for the long term as shareholders in the DAO, whereby you now earn a percentage of the fees based on what you hold in the token. And the whole thing is built around options. It's around, how do you actually pay a dividend to holders on a daily basis as opposed to an annual basis or a quarterly basis. And I think therein lies the transformation, or rather the evolution, that's needed in tokenomics, so that we can go forward with the idea of holding a token. And I believe that Tapioca has taken that step in the right direction. It will evolve. I'm sure there will be failures in the way that this thing kind of like evolves, and there will be successes, and we will arrive at a better place. But clearly I'm bullish and maybe a little bit delusional, but I think they're on the right track.
But what did they do right from that perspective, which others are currently getting wrong? So like I'm in a strong opinion that despite it not being as transparent as people would like to think with regards to meme coins being launched and thinking, oh, it's a fair launch, there's no kind of VC fuckfest insider, that gives me the highest opportunity to actually get into something early, despite the vast majority of now being fucking just complete inside kind of cash grab, so they control 90% of the supply. That's by the by.
Yes.
That's a response to like how shit teams have set up their token structure and how
Yes.
little meat they've left on the bone for the average retail investor. So they've just said, well, I can't win at this game, so I'm going to go and play this game where at least it's perceived that I can win. And I know people that are winning, and look at the chart, it goes up and it looks all great. So Tapioca 100% left enough meat on the bone for anyone to get in on the LBP level. I think the finishing, what was the finishing price on the LBP?
I think it was $1.80 or $1.85 or something like that.
Right.
I forget now. Yeah.
So even at that price, which was like the finishing price, I think it went as low as like $1.20. $1.20. So at the 120 price, that's less than 3x the seed round price.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go and have a look. go and have a look at the seed round price for Tier.
I know,
and that's
insane.
why I'm not buying any here. So again, leaving enough meat on the bone. If the product's going to stand up to what you're professing it to be, then you don't have to worry about that token price. You can start it at a really, really low circulating supply and kind of allow people to kind of do well off the back of it. And they're going to champion the protocol for much longer than if you're going to launch something that's 1,000x. Like stuff that is coming onto the market now is already marked up 1,000x from pre-seed or seed to sometimes Series A or Series B before it launches.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is buying that shit? Nobody should be buying that stuff.
Mm.
And then you look at the likes of fucking Dimension getting a 5 billion FDV at launch.
That's insane.
It's absolute, like, whoever advised them to do that, it's absolutely criminal.
Yeah.
Like, so,
but this is the thing, Grant. This is exactly, you've hit the nail on the head, is that it's all about what value is the protocol creating, not in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time. It's like, where does the value lie on day one? Is there value in what it is that these guys are doing from day one? And you just illustrated, and thanks for pumping my bags once again, is that it's like, that's where the value lies. It's kind of like, well, it's only 3x the price from the seed. So people aren't going to be selling. And if they are selling, in my opinion, if you're a seed investor and you've sold and you are selling, you've completely missed the point of what this is actually all about. And more importantly, beyond just the tokenomics, you've missed the point of what this protocol is actually trying to achieve. So why did you invest in this thing from a seed round? It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, listen, everyone's got their reasons, and I don't want to dunk on seed investors here, but it's kind of like, surely you're looking at this thing from a longer term view as opposed to, well, I want to de-risk right now. And I get that. But at the same time, surely the upside here, in light of the fact that you're only getting a 3x, is way more than you could possibly ever imagine from this point onwards, because the value lies from day one, surely.
Just a bit fucking stupid, wasn't it? And there is that June dash where you can see the wallets that did done day one, who were a seed investor. But I don't get why the same names keep getting continued to get asked to come on different cap tables. And they are familiar faces. I'm not going to say who, you can work it out. But why invite the likes back? It doesn't make any sense. Like, our internal bag is just going to get locked, max locked. And then as we continue to invest, that's just going to continue to get locked. So,
well, this is the thing. So let's look at this thing. Okay, so let's like, people are here to look for alpha. In my opinion, the alpha in this whole discussion right now, understand where the value lies and what it is that you are actually speculating on. Secondly, what do you actually want to get out of this whole process and this whole market? Do you want to just make 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, 20, and 50 exits? Absolutely, you do. But then there reaches a point, which is the messy school. You know, Crypto Messiah has always spoken about, I mean, one of his wallets is named Income. It's all about income. It's all about logging in, getting income. The same with Noah side, with Noah as well, with Captain Rational. It's kind of like, I'm making an investment in order to make money when I'm sleeping. When I'm sleeping and a protocol is generating fees and I'm getting a portion of those fees and I'm going and collecting that return on my investment on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, that is when you're winning. That is when you've actually like arrived and you're actually starting to recognize the real value of what DeFi has to offer. And that, in my opinion, is the goal that everyone should be looking to do, as opposed to, well, I'm here to snatch and grab and, you know, go off into the sunset of just getting US dollars out. Because then all you're doing is that you're going to try and create income outside, I would hope, outside of crypto. But why do that when you can do it inside of crypto? And the more people that do that, the more sustainability there is, the more capital there is, the more liquidity there is, and the more people win overall. Maybe I'm delusional, maybe I'm living in a dream world, but that's the way I see it.
Noah describes it as buying a salary. Like, at what price would you pay for X amount of salary? And I think it's a good point. I also, like, the counter to that is, I don't think if you're just starting out and to get you onto a path where kind of living comfortably from yield is your like end game. I don't think you should be chasing yield generation or like airdrops. I think you should be going balls to the wall, trying to pick up stuff really, really early, grinding out multiples, and then when you get to like a point that you're happy with, being able to take as much off the table as physically possible, or then putting it into something that's going to be yield generating. I don't think it's, if you're just starting out and you're looking to like get returns on your investment, I don't think going to put a 2, 3, 4 year yield generating strategy is going to be the way to go about doing it. But then, as you say, once you arrive and once you're in a position where it's like, well,
Yes.
Why would I go and try and get 7% on a housing market when I can get blah blah blah,
15.
whatever you can get it to?
15, 20. Yes.
The only thing is, I think you're requiring on-chain activity to stay as high as physically possible because you want native yield. You don't want yield generated from additional token incentives because they just trend down.
Yes.
So then you need to look at real revenue generating protocols like you like to Maker. Maker did really, really well during the bear market. I think they're about to release their new product. And Tapioca has very strong connotations to that and can pull off similar like yield generating strategies that can be on chain, off chain, or a mixture of both. So yeah, school of no seedman, cash flow and yield. How much would you pay for a salary? But yeah, ZRO has been ripping as well. RIP to the airdrop sellers, me included.
So I'm very curious to get kind of like, so I don't know if you saw that report that ALO did on all the airdrops that were launched. This is what they've done. And essentially, it's actually worth going to his Twitter profile quickly and just checking it out, because in that lies an interesting tale around how I'm of the belief that the school and the era of airdrops is ending, and then we're in the process of it. But then ZRO, Layer Zero, and the Zero token, I think in many ways might land up being one of the outliers, because I think it's going to do really well. And I think they're going to do really well because they actually have a great product. And I think Tapioca is going to land up riding off the back of that. And I think Zero, medium to long term, could be quite a good bet in light of the fact that you've got a wizard in Brian Pellegrino and a product that I think is going to smash everyone clean out the ring. In my opinion, I have no idea why people would use Wormhole. In my opinion, I have no idea why anyone would use any kind of bridge besides a more sophisticated Layer Zero product that I think we'll see in the next year or so.
One counter to that, which is very new, which you're going to see a lot about over the coming weeks, and I've just interviewed them. So I covered this on Tuesday on Round Trippers, but I had a interview with the Socket team, so VC from Socket. If you've used Bungie, that is the provider of that. So this idea of chain abstraction is starting to like really, really take off, and it's not one of those, oh, it's a flash in the pan narrative. It's potentially probably one of the highest potential things that I've seen to kind of change the game of how people operate on chain, which is always a good thing. So the idea of this would be you have an aggregated balance across multiple different chains. It doesn't really matter where your assets are. You've got ETH on Arbitrum, you've got ETH on Optimism, you've got ETH on Base, but you want to pay for an NFT that's on Ethereum mainnet, for example. So this idea is like it's a smart you're going to have the chain abstracted smart contract wallet with a variety of different assets. You've got dust on different chains, and when you actually just transact, you don't really need to worry about bridging your assets over from many different chains and then collating all this pool together after you've did about 1,000 different clicks. You just pay for it and it comes out. It's gasless. You pay in the source asset and then away you go. And it's going to take some like unlearning because everyone's so used to right, change the RPC. Right. Rabbi kind of changed the game by not having to click on the interface to change the RPC over to a new network. MetaMask, I don't know why they haven't done it, but they should just do it and it'd make the product infinitely better. This, you don't even know what chain you're on. Chains are completely abstracted away. It doesn't necessarily matter. And the beauty of it as well is it's 100% backwards compatible with everything that's already on the market. There's no lift from any applications that need to be done. It's just seamless integration. It's just like an end user deciding to opt into this. So the underlying infrastructure to allow this to happen is all going to be on intent. So we've seen intents for CowSwap, we've seen intents for IntentX with perps. This is kind of going to be an all singing, all dancing intents for fucking everything, basically. And that's going to be what powers this kind of chain abstracted wallet, chain abstracted balance. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see. It's going to be a bit confusing at first, I think, but like you've got the balance. It's just on different chains, and it's just like, why does that need to be a thing? In just a way you go with any transaction, whether that be buying an NFT, doing a swap, depositing into Tapioca, like it doesn't matter. So that's coming. This on the Ethereum Research Forum.
Just what's also just to kind of like add some more kind of like spice to the stew that we've got cooking here is like, Hyperliquid. I mean, just obviously going completely right field here is that those guys obviously, I mean, you've raved about their product for a long time. You like great products, really done well. They've delivered. They've gone about it the right way. And then the big thing is that they refused any kind of VC participation, and there was kind of like this no-go for launching a token, and now they've decided that they're going to do something, and they're going to do an airdrop, and obviously the airdrop's only going to be applicable to those that have been using the protocol, and rightfully so. Thoughts around this? What's the best way to play it? What do you think?
I think it's first and foremost, it's a fucking brilliant product. It really, really, really is. It's and the idea that they haven't took out, like, I don't know if they might have took a little bit, I don't know what, but they haven't kind of stated that they've taken any outside venture capital, and that's kind of the big kind of pendulum swinging back against what we just previously talked about not leaving enough meat on the bone for like the average investor. So it's fine to do that with meme coins where they don't have anything to back it up following that, but then when you do it with arguably one of the best products on the market at the minute, then you've got like a real good recipe for success. So what a few kind of ways to get exposure. They've got a spot market with a load of these kind of meme coins on. So Points, H-Fun, Jeff, and PURR. Obviously, you can kind of see the corresponding market caps to it there. That's kind of full speculation around how you would gain exposure to the specific airdrop. Referral system, and then obviously they also have a points leaderboard based on volume. Obviously, if you're using the PURR decks or the spot decks. So there's been some people that have put in some considerable volume, like someone trading, like let's sort by 30-day volume. 30-day volume, someone's put 4.3 billion through it. So
wow, that's insane.
So this, but yeah, that seems like the way. I can't find it on Wales markets for some reason.
Yeah, Luke was saying it's not the Wales one; it's the Hyperliquid USDC pair for Points. Are you talking about
right.
Are you talking about Hyperliquid as an evaluated token? Like, what would the evaluation be? Okay, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and something else that happened with these guys the other day. I think we're going to cover it if we can get it done in time. But so Rage Trade, these guys have decided to launch on Hyperliquid, and you have to do this like purchasing the ticker, so you can't just have like a fucking free for all of dog shit getting deployed on Hyperliquid. So these guys are going to kind of test this out. I think it's a really smart idea. It's like, how do you kind of leverage probably one of the most sought after protocols in the space currently, or soon to be. So that's going to be quite interesting. I wonder if that starts a trend. If it goes well, you can imagine it would. So yeah, I'm keeping a really, really close eye on it. I might have to buy Points if everyone's telling me to buy Points. Points now, spot trade. Yeah, and I'll just be continuing to put. I think you got 10 weeks left to start putting some volume through. So, but yeah, it's fucking great. If you haven't tried it already, we did it. When did you interview? Was it like? I think I was in Greece at the time. Must have been like last year. Must have been about a year ago. Do you remember when we did it?
I don't actually.
See what's on the site. Yeah, we did complete
Was
guide
it
to
a year?
Hyperliquid.
Was it a year ago? Yeah, June 23rd. It was literally a year ago.
Coincidentally, that was the date. You know, I was saying it was the lowest sentiment
Yeah,
we've had. That was the last time sentiment was as low as it
this
was
low.
yesterday. So we can be a bit tone deaf just releasing content after content after content, even. But fuck it. But yeah, looking forward to that. 563 sent me this as well yesterday, which is quite interesting.
What is that? Withdrawals from Blast, no?
Yeah. So
15,000. Wow. That's a serious amount. So
yeah.
you know what's really interesting at the moment? Like, so I really want to speak about this because, you know, like it's been quite a big topic. And that's kind of like the duck coming out, Donald coming out, and, you know, and there's been a couple of other really big accounts that have come out and said, you know, like, I don't like where crypto is going at the moment, and it's just like really like not great, and I don't see it as being a net positive anymore like I did before. And I really find it interesting how like almost insulated and focused people become off the things that happen on Twitter. Like they just don't see anything beyond that. And it's kind of like, well, it's all about meme coins and everything else has gone to dust and we don't really see any positives. And I just find it really interesting that, you know, someone who's seemingly super intelligent, not just seemingly, the dude is super intelligent. He's done really well in the markets, despite the fact that he's still kind of like plotting Litecoin on a chart. But that's that's worked for him and good for him. But it's not just him. I mean, I am picking on him a little bit, and it's not entirely fair, but it does drive to the point that all you got to do is just go to blockmates.com and just scroll half a revolution on your mouse wheel, and you will notice that there is a shitload going on in the space. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on in the space. We just spoke about Hyperliquid, Tapioca, all of the stuff that really does change things, you know, from trading to liquidity provisioning to cross-chain to everything. And you turn around and you tell us that you don't like where the trajectory of crypto is going. And the only reason why you're saying that is because you are firstly too focused on all the negative stuff because you're too busy shorting. And secondly, you're not actually paying attention to who's really building in the space, like DeFi Llama. Go to DeFi Llama, take a look. There's a lot of cool shit going on out there. And stuff that we don't really talk about. When was the last time we actually spoke about RabbitX? You know, when was the last time we actually spoke about GMX or DYDX? You know, these guys are doing solid business and generating serious amounts of money.
It's just like, I just can't take people seriously that say that sort of stuff. Because to me, it just tells me they don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even, you haven't even bothered to look. It's like, it tells me you don't even know where to look. So, and I get it. Like, you probably, like, what's that old saying? It's hard to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning when you weren't, to go for a run when you wear inside pajamas. Like, when a boxer makes it in his career and he doesn't, goes on its downward trajectory, it's like, you're already sat on like some serious fucking size. Do you really have the incentive to go fucking grind it out looking at stuff that's just emerging, coming up the market to try and grind out a 50, 100x? Like, probably not. Probably wait for 3 or 4 good trades a year, pick that up when you can, and then go from there. So it's a total different market participant arguing over what they assume to be the same thing when they're not.
But I think but I also feel, Grant, that there should be a responsibility, or there's a responsibility in a voice that has so many people who are following and listening to their perspective, that you've almost, it's your responsibility to step outside of kind of like your framework, and you've got to like I believe, take a more holistic approach to what the hell is going on. I mean, you see it even with kind of like the guys, like you look at Messi, for example. I mean, I know I've brought him up before, but like, why did he delete that 120,000 follower account that he had? It's because of this very thing, is that the responsibility is too great. Also, I can't manage the euphoria that comes with it. And thirdly, there's a big target on my back. So how do you mitigate all those three things? Well, you take a responsible perspective and you actually behave in a way that is pretty much similar to the way that Cantwin Clark / Ryan does, is that you have a responsibility to actually take in a holistic view of what's going on in the market. And if you're not prepared to do that, then stop fucking posting about your short position and the fact that you think everything's going to zero, because that's just not a responsible take.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Speaking
So
of,
is Billy going to a Billy? That's the next question.
fucking hope so. Isn't this what Ryan's involved with as well? It's in futures.
Yeah, I think he's an ambassador. I think he's got a deal with them. He's been quite open about that. He speaks.
If you're gonna get anyone on for derivatives, he's a fucking good guy to have on, isn't he?
Yeah. They've been slow off the mark, but it seems like they've gotten their shit together and they're doing stuff.
Have a little look. You should get paid for this. Let's get a deal. Let's get
a deal. Yeah. Sponsor us. Come on, sponsor us.
I can't sign in because I haven't got a wallet on this account, but yeah, I'll take a look.
So what are these guys doing?
I mean, it's some serious backing. It just looks like a full derivative suite.
Okay.
Know they were going to do options at one point, but looks like they've just rolled out the futures first. So I have to keep an eye on it. I think the website could do with a bit of finessing, to be honest. But
so let's go and take a look.
I'm a proper bitch when it comes to website UI.
No, you love that shit, don't you? Or you hate it. Billy, let's go and take a look at the Billy chart. So just before we go to Billy, you quite bullish on ZRO, hey?
Yeah, ZRO, absolutely. 100%.
Good, okay.
100%. Can't not back that team. Also, what's the FTV on it?
I'm not sure, actually. Jeez, it's not that high, actually. It's not bad.
Is that right?
Yeah. Is it?
Because I know they raised that 3 billion, so you're gonna have some pretty upset Series A investors if they don't get some return on investment. Oh yeah, fully diluted 4.3.
4.3,
so,
okay. So it's wrong.
They're up 30%, 40%.
So that's fair. There's value there, right? I mean, there's value for upside. Yes. So based on the rant we had, that would be a good buy, or it would be a good bet. I have very little of it, so I'm not coming from a point where I'm pumping my bags. It's like
I don't have a big.
Yeah,
it was a fucking great trade though.
Yeah, I think they've got this. I think this thing's gonna do stuff as well. It looks great, actually.
Let's hope. Buy some.
So are you buying us a villa somewhere if this thing goes to a Billy? Is that what this is all about?
Blockmates villa, maybe.
And then PURR, tell me. So what's the story with Billy? Do you know anything about it? I mean, I haven't really been following this side of the market.
Billy, it just kind of came out of nowhere and started running really hard, but it was a pumped up fun coin initially, and then it's just seemed to continue to do really, really well. I think the dev sold, and his bag would have been worth a fucking fortune now, so that adds to the lore of it all.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those. You throw a couple of shekels at it and it as well. But it seems to have captured the imagination of people quite well. So quite happy with that one.
Cool. And then PURR, I didn't know about this one.
Yeah, PURR's the hyperliquid one.
Okay.
So I'm just buying this as the exposure to. I might have to go and like distribute it across these 4 as well, and maybe even pick up some Rage when it comes on the market.
Okay.
But we'll have to look. You can only buy it on Hyperliquid as well, which I quite like.
So that's another thing that they've done, which is pretty clever. Is like, well, we'll give you the speculative avenue on memes, but then you got to come and trade it on our platform, and you know what? We'll give you points, and then you can get an airdrop. I mean, it's genius. Yet so simple.
Other than that, I don't really know. I don't really have.
I think the
else
most
to cover.
important one we've left for last, and probably the one that I love the most, and I don't have enough of, is MOG. I mean, seriously. I know that we've got the architects and the advocate and the ambassador of MOG in the audience, namely Hickson. I blame him entirely for forcing me to buy this thing at the lows. Thank you, Hickson, for making me buy this.
Yeah, it looks great, doesn't it? I know. I know we got like 563 to do that correlation analysis, and Pepe was
Yes.
the strongest ETH beta. But we'd have to probably run some numbers on this as well because this seems to have been fucking brilliant.
I think ETH is becoming the freaking MOG beta at this point in time.
Yeah, it's absolutely killing it. I mean, it keeps showing up on Kato, like the top 20 markup, like all the time when they do like this kind of mad when everything just kind of gets copy pasted and they go on this like crazy run. You're looking at this and it's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol. Then it's just like MOG. It's just like you have no business being there on that, but it's always on there, so it's like amazing to see.
I mean,
a really good cover that.
I mean, right now it's kind of like, you know, and it's such an interesting mindset. Is like, what are the blue chip memes? Who would have thought that we would ever, if you had said this to me a year and a half ago and we spoke about blue chip memes, who would have thought that we would be talking about Pepe and Whiff? And now Popcat seems to be slowly entering that fold. You know, obviously MOG now as well at 600 mil. I mean, $600 million, bro, for a meme coin of a cat wearing freaking Viper sunglasses. Who in any reality would have thought that that would be possible?
It was previously crack pipe, wasn't it?
That's right.
Why is everyone talking about Celestia again?
I don't know. It's really
people like
interesting.
expecting them to run it up into the unlock, so people get a better exit price. Is that what the?
No, dude. But there's a lot of people who believe that Tier has some really good value proposition around the tech.
Yeah, it does, but
yeah,
when you've got 89% of the circulating supply unlocking in 113 days, and then $6 million a day unlocking for 365 days, that doesn't really fill me with confidence about the tech, to be honest. But you'd assume that the powers that be may want a better price for when said unlock happens, and there could be a trade around that.
So are you saying that maybe in 113 days there's something to be said for going balls deep short on Tier?
Long now, short then, maybe. I don't know. I'd love to know the seed price on this. I think it was fucking. And fair enough, like you can't just shit on it because like the seed price, like people took a gamble on people's crazy ideas and they deserve to get rewarded for it. But I'm not. I can't buy someone else's 1000x. I just can't do it.
1.5 million. Price 0.0094. Wow.
Yeah, so
What does that
I just can't
translate
buy
into?
that.
That's
Like-
translating into like a quadrillion %. It's like so ridiculous, actually.
Oh god. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's what they're gonna get. Even if it goes to like 10 cents, dude, they're still making like 100x.
Yeah, no way. No fucking way. So yeah, I hope that filled you all with confidence. We'll wrap it up there. We'll see you next week.
Before we wrap it up, I'd like to leave people just something to think about going into kind of like the second part of the year. And it's like there's a couple of questions. I mean, I know that the original cat MDS is also in the audience, has been speaking about how they're going to basically start doing rate cuts and all that kind of stuff, and how that bodes for, you know, this this so-called phantom bull market that we've had. I mean, there has been a bull market, but only if you've been in the right things. Obviously, tides and ships and all that kind of stuff doesn't really apply this time around. But I think what's really important about going into the second part of the year is like, ask yourself the question, where does the value lie in the market at the moment? Is it on those like things that pumped prior to where we are now and have basically bottomed out? And is that something that you want to buy, or do you want to actually look at where we are going to go with the new stuff and start positioning for possibly, you know, like a 2025 as opposed to a 2024 play? Just some questions to think about. And, you know, like, where do you want to position yourself? You know, where do you want to exit? Where do you want to enter? You know, like for me, an exit will always be the altcoin psycho school of thinking, and that is sell 30% too early, sell 30% the right time, and sell 30% too late. I don't think we're anywhere near exit talk, but I think there will be an opportunity to maybe buy some stuff at really low prices. And, you know, which ones do you want to position yourself in? Is it like the potential blue chip memes that are coming up? Because we've seen quite a few new ones. Is it DeFi stuff? I think there's a lot that we need to think about.
There we go. So if you listen, you're not in Discord, go and jump in there. It's completely free. Don't want anything for you. And please give us a subscribe on this channel, Blockmates TV, because it's brand new. And yeah, we'll see you next week. We're both around. We'll have to do it Wednesday next week, because I'm flying Thursday. But yeah, over and out. Bye.
Take it easy, everyone.